card games at Daddy Pigs. He's Kaiba the Pug. And see outside the Dollarama. Because Daddy, he made a mistake. He made a goof. He says he got me some euros. He swears he got me some euros. But he says he looked everywhere and he can't figure out where he put the euros. And I'm like, Daddy, what is up with that? So, I told Daddy, you gotta give me some euros today. And Daddy brought me out one day early. It's actually Saturday today. But you guys are going to see this tomorrow. And so, yeah, I said to Daddy, you gotta give me the euros. So we came out a day early for the park trip. And so, hopefully, if Daddy did his job, you saw the park trip video yesterday. And then today, you'll see this video. And yeah, maybe you get a bonus park trip if you guys help me convince Daddy. But I don't know about that one yet. Anyways, for now, it's time for the Super Dick Sunday. Sunday. Yes, the Sunday. And I did my part now. So give me the rest of these livers, because you promised me that I could have the rest of these livers. And then when the Dollarama opens, you can go get me the more livers. And in the meantime, you can film your video, your card game video. And I did my part, so yeah, give. There you go. That's what's left. Oh, a couple more. There you go. Alright, those are livers. Here you go. Yeah, livers. What, you want to come over on Daddy for the filming? Yes, I do. I want to come over on Daddy for the filming. Actually, I want to come over and stare at the window. So I'll do that and you film. You can film over top of me. Okay, but I don't think I can film over top of you super well. Sure you can. Look, see? You get lots of space. If you say so, Kaiba. Yes I do. Alright guys, as Kaiba said, it is Super Deck Sunday, and we are here to do the Yu-Gi-Oh video this week, because Yu-Gi-Oh's got neglected again for a couple weeks in a row now. So, this is admittedly a deck that I know I've thrown up on the channel before. But I swear when I double checked this morning, that is not one of the decks that I've covered on Super Deck Sunday. So, if you've been around on the channel for a really long time, you've probably seen this deck profile before. It hasn't changed at all since the last time I shown it. Showed it off, but I like this one. It's super cute. And I think that it's a really good one to have this week, because I needed something just to kind of like put me in a more upbeat spirit, because this week was rough at work. The last 2 weeks, to be honest, have been pretty rough at work. And they announced something at work this week that really has me quite upset as well. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the deck profile. And then I'm going to go into Dollarama, get Kaiba his livers. And I've decided I'm going to grab one of those bundles that I showed off in Dollarama Draws of Destiny. Even though I know I'm not really supposed to buy cards, I think that it's okay every once in a while for me to grab an extra pack for myself, just if I've had a really shitty day. And I hope that you guys are okay with that. Yeah, I really do. The people who have helped me out, I feel like I don't want to let you guys down, per se, the people who have helped me out. But right now, I need something to put me in a more upbeat mood for this weekend. My dad's in a miserable mood too, so it's going to be rough this weekend already as is. So yeah. Anywho, sorry, I don't want to ramble too much. I want to do the deck profile first, and then I want to do the rant afterwards. So this deck, I have two names for. On one hand, I like to call it the Sweet Dreams of a Little Girl, and on the other hand, I like to call it Cannon Fodder. So it kind of depends on how I play it, which way it ends up being. But this is my Nemleria deck. So for those of you who have seen this card deck before, you know that this is a very memey deck. But my version of it does have a bunch of extra stuff thrown in just for shits and giggles that a lot of people maybe are not necessarily running. So without further ado, I'm going to first off show the bulk cards. These are the cards that don't necessarily need to be part of the strategy. I'm just removing 5 things here because they are not overly, yeah. Okay. Those ones are more important to the strategy than I think I originally considered. So I'm going to actually show the extra deck afterwards, because I think that the extra deck will explain the second name, and I want to focus on the first name off the bat because it's the one that I more often refer to this deck as. So, without further ado, here we go. We got ourselves a Dream Clown because I figured that just is perfectly on point. I mean, the name is Dream Clown. I like what it does too, that when you tap this thing or change it from attack to defense position, you can destroy something on an opponent's side of the field. And I just feel like it fits perfectly with Nemleria. It's clearly something that she could be dreaming about, I feel like, besides the sweets. There are some nightmarish creatures in here as well, like legendary Maju Garzette. Pretty big beefy boy. Cannot be normal summoned or set except by special summoning from your hand by attributing all monsters you control. And then its attack becomes the original combined attack of all the things that you attributed, which becomes pretty beefy at some points in this deck. It's kind of like an alternate win con if I want to just swing with one thing. I have a Lava Golem. I figured that seems very nightmarish as well, being trapped inside of a prison inside your own mind. So that felt really good for this deck. Guardian Yatos, on the other hand, feels very much like something that a little girl might dream of. And I actually have 2 copies of it in this deck because I like the fact that you can play this one if you have no monsters in your graveyard for free. The goal of this deck is to remove a bunch of cards from the game a lot of the time. So therefore, the idea of having cards in the graveyard is kind of a no-go for me. So like I say, I have 2 copies of that. I have 1 copy of the Tricky. It's another easy one to special summon. A lot of the creatures in this deck are revolving around special summoning because of the game mechanics that are involved in how Nemleria plays out. So, you have to discard a card from your hand in order to play this one, but you get a level 5 creature. DD Crow feels like something out of a nightmare, I figured. Whereas, like, the Tricky kind of felt like it fit with the Dream Clown. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but that just felt like they felt kind of like they both could be cute things you dream about. You can discard this card to the graveyard, then target 1 card in an opponent's graveyard and banish it. I have a Ghost Bell Haunted Mansion. Not just for the effect, but also for the ability that she just fits well into something you might dream about. She seems like a friend of Nemleria, in my opinion. So, add a card from your graveyard to the hand, deck, or extra deck. You can special summon a monster from your graveyard, or you can banish a card from your graveyard. And you can do that whenever a card or effect is activated that includes any of the effects. But you have to discard this card to do it. So, when one of those things happens, then you can discard this, and then you can do those abilities. So it's pretty good. And Ash Blossom Enjoys Spring, same idea. I just figured it's like a friend of Nemleria that she would dream about. And again, just a fantastic hand trap. Plus, it gives me a couple tuners as well in this deck, which there are like 3 synchro monsters in this deck. Granted, I can't synchro summon at least one of them, but yeah, whatever. When a card or effect is activated that includes any of these effects, you can discard that card to negate the effect, add a card from the deck to the hand, special summon from the deck, or send a card from the deck to the graveyard. Pretty solid, pretty solid. Balloon Lizard. Again, something that you might dream about, I figured. Definitely seems like something that's unrealistic, but fits into a dream pretty nicely. And this one's pretty neat too, because you can put a counter on it during each of your standby phases, and when it's destroyed, you inflict damage to your opponent equal to the number of counters on it times 400. It's got a solid defense too, so And then Stealth Bird, I like this one. Once per turn, you can change this from face down position. You can change this card to face down defense position, and when it's flip summoned, you deal 1,000 damage to your opponent. So this is something that they kind of have to deal with once it gets on the field, because if they don't, you're just going to be constantly hitting them for a lot of damage. And again, something with a pretty solid defense. And then the card that is kind of like the home run hitter in this deck is Grenmaju de Izai. I'm probably pronouncing that last word wrong, and I apologize if I am. Its attack and defense are equal to the number of cards of your cards that are banished times 400. And since Nemleria is a deck that wants to see a lot of stuff get banished from the extra deck, this thing can get pretty powerful. Your extra deck can have up to 15 cards, so if every card in my extra deck is banished at the time that I play this thing's attack would be 6,000. And its defense. So, insanely good card. I've got a Monster Reborn in here to bring stuff back. Cosmic Cyclone to deal with some interesting problems on the field. Karma Cut, discard one card, then target one face-up monster your opponent controls, and you can banish that card, then all cards with the same name as that monster from your opponent's graveyard as well. So if they're running a specific mechanic, this is a fantastic card for dealing with one particular nonsense card in that mechanic, and then possibly shuts them down completely. Bye-bye damage during damage calculation if your opponent is attacked. Sorry, if your monster is attacked. Your battling monster cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, you take no battle damage from that battle, and your opponent takes effect damage equal to double the amount, presumably, of the battle damage that you would have taken. You can only apply this effect of bye-bye damage once per turn, but that's still insanely good. Bottomless Trap Hole. Again, these are kind of things that I thought would be like something you might dream about, like Karma Cut, bye-bye damage. These are all sort of like nightmare-ish things that could happen in a dream. Bottomless Trap Hole, while also being just really effective in this deck. When your opponent summons a monster with 1,500 or more attack, you can destroy that monster, and then you can banish it. Mutually Afferred Destruction. Both players must keep their hands revealed this turn while their hands are revealed by this effect. If they both have a card with the same name in their hands, neither player can activate cards with the same name or their effects. Probably isn't going to happen very much, but what I thought this was just neat on is, again, it's really cute artwork, something that I could see her dreaming about for sure. And it's got the balance of dream and nightmare to it kind of thing going on there. Finally, Impenetrable Attack. Again, just solid all-around card. So that is like the bulk stuff in the deck. And then we have the 3 really creepy cards in the deck. These are like the absolute epitome of what a nightmare would be, for sure. And I've been trying to figure out a way to work these into a Yu-Gi-Oh deck for a long time. I've actually had these cards probably since like mid-2000s, at least 2 out of the 3. I think I had to buy the 3rd one. Pretty sure I had to buy the actual original card. But the other 2 I had for like the longest time. So, the trio that I'm talking about is Yubel. I never had the original Yubel. I'm pretty sure I bought that when I started building this deck. But I had the other 2 cards, and I always wanted to work them into something, and just could never figure out how. And this deck just feels so on theme for this, so it's too good not to include them, I figured. So, you've got... This card cannot be destroyed by battle. You take no battle damage from battles involving this card. Battle damage calculation. Before damage calculation, when this card is in an attack position, and it's attacked by an opponent's monster, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's attack. During your end phase, you contribute one other monster or destroy this card. When this card is destroyed except by its own effect, its owner can special summon one Terror Incarnate from their hand, deck, or graveyard. Terror Incarnate then comes out. And Terror Incarnate cannot be normal summoner set, has to be special summoned by the effect of Yubel, cannot be destroyed by battle, you take no battle damage involving this thing. When it's in face-up attack and it's attacked by your opponent's monster, before damage calculation, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its attack. During the end phase, destroy all monsters on the field, all other monsters on the field. When this card is removed from the field, you can special summon one Ultimate Nightmare from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So again, like, these are all just insanely troublesome monsters, and like, as long as they don't die out to their own effect, in theory, you have some seriously good stuff going on. Yubel is the hardest one because you have to actually sacrifice something on your own field to keep it into play. And I, as you can see, probably don't have a lot of creatures, but this is why a lot of my creatures have special summoning abilities too, to help me maintain that. And then we've got Yubel, the Ultimate Nightmare. Cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned by its own, the Incarnate's ability. And then it cannot be special summoned by other abilities. Cannot be destroyed by battle. You take no battle damage from battles involving it. At the end of a damage step, if this face-up attack position monster battles an opponent's monster, inflict damage equal to that monster's attack to your opponent, and then also destroy that monster. All in all, like I said, the Nightmare just gets worse and worse progressively, and I've just never been able to fit those into a deck, so when I started building this, it just felt like it was the perfect deck to include them in. And now we get into the actual core of the Nemleria deck itself. I am going to show off a few cards in different orders here first. Normally I do like creature magic traps, but I want to actually just reorganize this a little bit. There we go. Okay. Because I would like to kick off with 3 of the Dream Tower of Princess Nemleria, because this is the most important card in this deck for sure, other than Nemleria herself. You can banish 2 face-down cards from your extra deck. You can banish 2 face-down cards from your extra deck face-down. Add 2 level 10 beast monsters with different names from your deck to your hand. You cannot special summon monsters from your extra deck this turn. You can only activate this effect except for pendulum monsters. Hold on, sorry. I apparently cannot read. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck the turn you activate this effect, except pendulum monsters. You can only use this effect of Dream Tower Princess Nemleria once per turn. If an Nemleria monster you control would be destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect while you have Dreaming Nemleria face up in your extra deck, you can banish 1 face down card from your extra deck face down instead. Basically, this thing does all the work for you. It gives you the 2 big beefy cards into your hand that you need into your hand right away. It lets you banish the cards from your extra deck as needed. Helps you when Nemleria is in your extra deck. All the good stuff you want to happen. So, 3 copies of that for sure you need to run. Then we're going to run, of course, 3 copies of Nemleria herself. She is so hard to pronounce. That word is the hardest word to pronounce probably in Yu-Gi-Oh! For me right now. I'm sure there's many worse ones actually, but I'm just, right now, this is terrible. So she is a pendulum monster. So she has the 8th scale, and I do not have something for the 1 scale in this deck at all. But once per turn during your main phase, you can place 1 continuous Nemleria spell from your deck or graveyard face up on your field. So basically, that lets you get this back. And then if you do, add this card to your extra deck face up. You can not special summon this card the turn you activate this effect, though. Basically, you put her into the pendulum zone if you don't already have this in your hand, so you can get this into your hand so you can play this, and then you can put her into your extra deck right away and start banishing stuff from your extra deck. And then her other ability. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be just... oh my goodness, I'm taking a drink. Must be special summoned from face up from your extra deck by having no cards in your extra deck, except for her. You can only special summon her once per turn. If she is special summoned, for every 3 of your face down cards that have been banished, you can banish up to 1 card from your opponent's field and or graveyard face down. Then shuffle 1 face down banished card from your into your deck for each of your... Then shuffle 1 of your face down banished cards into your deck for each card you banished by this effect. Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. Holy crow. So she's a very interesting deck to play. Like I say, it's very memey, and you're gonna notice like all the creatures in this deck are very memey as well. All her dreams are apparently of ice cream. If you were to play just the actual deck that she wants you to play, so we've got Nemleria, Dream Devourer, Reveal. If this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can banish 3 cards from your extra deck face down, except for Dreaming Nemleria. Then you can special summon this card. You cannot special summon monsters from your extra deck the turn you activate this card, except for Pendulum monsters. You can send one other level 10 beast monster from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard to set Nemleria trap directly from your deck, but you can only use that effect once per turn as well. And it's a 25/2500 creature. All the creatures that she has are super strong attack and defense-wise for the fact that they're coming in as they are. And the other thing I want you to note about all these ice cream monsters is they're all level 10s. This is going to become very important when we get to the extra deck section. Next up, we have Nemleria, Dream Defender, Kuwait. I think Kuwait's supposed to be like vanilla ice cream, whereas this one's supposed to be like the cone. And then you've got chocolate coming up, and then I think the third one is strawberry. So, vanilla. If you have a face-up Pendulum monster in your extra deck, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only special summon this card once per turn this way. When your opponent activates a card effect that targets one card you control, while you have Dreaming Nemleria... Oh my goodness. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a Nemleria card you control, while you have this card, Dreaming Nemleria, face up in your extra deck, you can banish 1 face down card from your extra deck face down, negate the activation. Ah, okay. It doesn't seem to destroy the card though, so I'm assuming the card just goes back to face down on the field. And you can only do that once per turn. Chocolate is up next, or rather, Aurelair. Dream Defender, Aurelair. Was the first one Dream Defender too? I thought it was Dream Devourer, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay. So Aurelair is 2500 and 2000 defense, so the flip side of vanilla. If you have a face-up Pendulum monster in your extra deck, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only do that once per turn. If you have Dreaming Nemleria in your extra deck, you can banish 1 face-down card from your extra deck face down. This card gains 500 attack for each monster your opponent currently controls until the end of this turn. So this guy just becomes a super huge attack beat stick, which is pretty solid all around, of course. And then, to cap it off, because it was too expensive, I couldn't get 3 copies, so I only have 2 copies of Strawberry, but Strawberry is still pretty badass. 1500 attack, 3000 defense. Gains 100 attack for each face-down card in your extra deck. You can only use each effect of the following effects from Strawberry once per turn, though. If this card is in your hand, you can target 1 face-up monster you control, place it on the bottom of your deck, and if you do, you can special summon this card. Then if you special summon this card, you can activate one of these effects. You can add 1 Dreaming Nemleria from your deck to your face-up extra deck immediately, or you can change 1 other face-up monster on the field to face-down defense position. All in all, probably not doing the second one so much, but the first one is pretty crazy. That you can just help yourself to Nemleria super easily if need be. So I love the way this deck just cycles itself through really easily. But I mean, the other thing you need to do is you need to be able to empty out your extra deck. So in order to do that, we have the following. We have 2 copies of Pot of Extravagance. At the start of your main phase, you can banish 3 or 6 random face-down cards from your extra deck face down. Draw 1 card for every 3 cards banished this way, and for the rest of your turn after this card resolves, you cannot draw cards by card effect. Then I have Pot of Desires. I only have 1 copy of this. Banish 10 cards from the top of your deck face down. Draw 2 cards. You can only activate this once per turn. And then we have 2 copies of Pot of Prosperity. One of those copies being a very pretty one. And you can banish 3 or 6 cards of your choice from your extra deck face down. For the rest of the turn after this card resolves, any damage your opponent takes is halved. Also, you can excavate cards from the top of your deck equal to the number of cards you've banished. Add one extra deck excavated card, to your hand and place the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. You can only do Pot of Prosperity once per turn. So all those cards help me get rid of a bunch of stuff in my extra deck and a bunch of stuff in my regular deck, which is insanely good, of course, for the big Grand Majou card that we want to play and just wipe out an opponent's life points with one creature if possible. And then we have 3 copies of Sweet Dreams Nemleria. So you can add one Nemleria monster from your deck to your hand. Then if you have Dreaming Nemleria face up in your extra deck, your opponents cannot activate cards or effects this turn when a Nemleria monster is normal summon or special summon. You can place this card from your graveyard on the bottom of your deck, then target one Dreaming Nemleria you control, add it to the extra deck face up. So this is another instant way to get Dreaming Nemleria from your field into your deck. Dreaming Nemleria, of course, like I say, you can't special summon very easily to the field, but you can easily put her into your pendulum zone and then move her over. So there's that. And then we were talking about traps that Nemleria have. There are 2 traps that I own. I have 3 copies of each. There is Nemleria Louvre, which is special summon one Nemleria monster or one level 10 beast monster from your hand or deck in defense position, but return it to your hand during the end phase. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one face-up monster your opponent controls. It loses 100 attack and defense for each of your currently face-down banished cards until the end of this turn. So these cards pop off huge once you get some of the pots going off. And then we have 3 copies of... Ooh, that card sleeve is a little bit damaged. Nemleria Repeater. If you control a Nemleria card, you can banish the following number of cards from your extra deck face down, except for Dreaming Nemleria, then activate the appropriate effect. You can add one Nemleria card from your graveyard to your hand. Any damage you take this turn is halved if you get rid of 2 cards, 1 card for the first effect. And 3 cards, send one level 10 beast monster you control to the graveyard. If you do, negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls until the end of the turn. You can only use that 3rd effect once per turn. Oh no, you can only use... yeah. I'm not sure if it's the 3rd effect or it's all the effects, to be honest. I think it's actually all the effects. So, I mean, 3 copies of this is kind of a little bit overkill, but I want to make sure I have 1 copy of it on the field at all times, if possible. So I can do those things. So that is the regular deck. And then we're going to just quickly do this extra deck because Kaiba really wants me to go in and get the treats and get going home. So I do have 3 synchro monsters in here. And as I said, I can only summon 2 of them. The one that I can't summon, I just threw in for shits and giggles, is an extra copy of Loki, Lord of the Aesir. I'm really not sure why I threw it in here. I just think it's fun to have in the deck, to be perfectly honest. I think I had an extra copy of it. I didn't want to put it in my Nordic deck. And yeah, I needed 15 extra deck cards, so whatever. I do have an Ancient Fairy Dragon in here, which I can play. She's pretty good for this deck, except for the fact that there are actually no field spells in this deck. The spells that are really key for Nemleria are actually all continuous magic spells, or continuous traps, so yeah. So she's not the best card for the ability with regards to the field zone thing, but I can at least special summon 1 level 4 or lower monster from my hand during my main phase. I can't conduct my battle phase during that turn, but I mean, it's an extra way to get something out onto the field if I need to sacrifice it to you, Bell, for example. And then I got the Cloud Castle. Basically, it's just in there to be a massive defense card. I do like that when you synchro summon it, you can target 1 level 9 monster from your graveyard, though, and special summon that target. Level 8 or lower monsters can attack the turn that you normal summon or special summon this card. I don't really have any level 9 monsters in my deck, though. That's the downside. But, I think that's a way you could nope. Lord of the Aesir is 10, isn't it? 4, 8, yep. So, no, there's no way to get Loki out. Okay. And then those are the Synchro monsters. And then we have 12 Xyz monsters. Some of them, again, are just cards that I tossed in. The first three are. So we've got a Ravenous Tarantula. I love this guy. And he actually is kind of decent in this deck. You can get him onto the board by... it's not tributing. You need 2 level Z overlaying. 2 level 10 monsters. Which this deck has plenty of course. And then all monsters you control gain attack and defense equal to the difference between your life points and your opponent's. While this card is XYZ materials, each time your opponent special summons a monster, you inflict 600 damage to your opponent. And then once per turn, you can detach a card from this card and destroy all face-up monsters your opponent controls with attack less than or equal to this card. What I love about this is this thing's going to get insanely huge first off. Because, while technically it's a 0/0 coming into play, it is going to become very, very big very, very quickly if your life points are higher than your opponent's. Which hopefully yours are. And then the big goal of this one, though, of course, is to actually board wipe with this and then swing with Grand Maju Garzette. Or, not Garzette, Del Izai. And win games that way. I do have a Chaos Dyson Sphere in here as well. 3 level 10 monsters to put into play, which is possible in this deck again. At the start of damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can attach that monster to this thing as a face-up XYZ monster. The downside is, once per turn, you can inflict 300 damage to your opponent for each XYZ monster attached to this card. Nope, that's actually a good side for me. The downside is this part. If this card has number 9 Dyson Sphere on it, it also gains this ability, which it will not because I don't have that in this deck. Once per turn, you can detach any number of XYZ monsters from this card to inflict 800 damage to your opponent for each. So I do not have the ability to do the massive damage all at once, but I still think the decent amount of damage that I can do with this is solid, and the fact that you have a 3600 card is insane as well. The last one is just in here for the sake of being in here. You probably won't be playing it. It is the Zombie Vampire. It, like my Synchro monsters, is more so in here just for the fodder. Something I can banish really easily and not worry about it. If you use a monster with a level that is owned by your opponent for the XYZ monster of this XYZ summon of this card, you can treat it as a level 8. Neither player can target this card with the affix of special summon monsters, except for those special summoned from the graveyard. You can detach a material from this card. Each player sends the top 4 cards from their deck to the graveyard. Then, any monster was sent to the graveyard by this effect, you can special summon one of those monsters to the field. You can only use each effect once per turn. The difficulty is this thing costs 2 level 8 monsters, and I don't have any way to really make you give me your creatures to do that. So, again, it's just one of those ones that doesn't really fit well. I probably should put it into my zombie deck, to be honest, but it just doesn't really need to be in there either, and I have a hard time summoning it in there. What I do have 3 copies of each of, and this is where the deck becomes known as cannon fodder, is Super Dreadnought Ray Cannon Juggernaut Libre, Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max, and Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Super Dora. I have all 3 of these cards in triplicate, and they're all insane in this deck, and I think that they're hilarious. So, we'll go in the order that they can be summoned in. So we got the Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Gustav Max. Like I say, I've got 3 copies of it. 2 level 10 monsters are put it onto the field. Once per turn, you can detach 1 card material from this card to inflict 2,000 damage to your opponent directly. It's also a 3,000 beat stick if it has no materials attached to it. Insanely good card for this deck. Next up, number 81. This one needs 2 level 10 monsters as well. Once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this one, then target 1 face-up monster on the field. Then target 1 face-up monster on the field. That target is unaffected by card effects except by its own until the end of this turn. That I don't care about as much, but the big powerhouse here, 3,200 attack, 4,000 defense, is what makes this card super awesome. Although, if I need to protect Nemleria, that is something that can help me protect her. And then finally, the Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Juggernaut Libre, which I have 3 copies of, 4,000, 4,000, needs 3 level 11 monsters, but if you have a rank 10 machine monster that you control, you can transfer its materials to this and use it as the material necessary to special summon this card. So basically, as long as I have one of the other 2 cannons out, I can get this out once per turn. And then, once per turn, I can detach 1 material from this card. It gains 2,000 attack and defense. Also, and also for the rest of this turn, you can only declare an attack with this card. During each battle phase, this card can make attacks on monsters up to the number of materials that it has +1. So essentially, as long as it has a whole bunch of extra materials still on it, like if you don't detach anything from the number 81, because that's basically what the number 81 is in there for mainly, is I can attach the number 81 directly to this, then detach 1 material from it, and then I can make 3 attacks with this. And at that point it is a 6,000 creature. So yeah. This is my, like I said, Sweet Dreams of a Little Girl or Cannon Fodder deck, whichever way you want to look at it. Either way, it is insanely powerful. And Dollarama is now open, so I'm going to go in there and get the treats for Kaiba, and then come back out and finish this video. Be right back. There you go, Kaiba. I got you 3 bags. That should be plenty for now. And hopefully Daddy will find the 2 that I've lost, and then we'll have extra bags. Yeah? You a good boy? Yeah? Okay, open the quick bundle of the cards, and then we go home. Sound good? Yeah? You a good boy. Alright, as promised, I'm going to do 1 bundle. Just because I needed something to make me smile this week. And you know what? If you want to judge, you can judge. But I had a little bit of pocket change left over from something. Well, essentially cleaning around the house. And so, yeah. We got the traditional 10 card one. For the record, I was looking at this the other day afterwards, and I realized how this actually works. You can get a random mix of any of these 3 things, plus you're getting a pack of sleeves. So this time the sleeves look like they're black again. Which, I mean, if now that I have grabbed a 5th one, if they all end up being black, I suppose I have 100 sleeves for an extra deck. Watch, they'll be different colors now, just to mess with me. So I've gotten the 10 card pack before, and I've gotten the lands pack before, which is what we appear to have again, the 10 card and the lands. And then we have this one over here, which I have not looked at yet. And I think those 2 are like the ones that you usually get, are the 10 pack and the lands, and then you get one of these ones. You can either get a colored creatures pack, which there's 10 of. You could get a 4 pack with a guaranteed foil, a premium pack with foils and rares only, a guaranteed pack with a rare, a mythic pack, and an uncommon 6 card pack, and a spells pack which has 6 cards. I'm not really sure what that spells pack would be because they're all technically spells, but so we got these ones, and then we're going to do the last one as a reveal at the end here. So we'll just put it over here to the side. I'm going to start with the lands this time. Can't remember if I started with the lands last time or not, but I'm starting with the lands this time. I got an island. Ooh, I'm very zoomed in, aren't I? Give me a second, let me zoom this out for you guys. There we go. I got an island, a forest, a swamp, a mountain. Ooh, I like the mountain artwork. That's a new one for me, and I really like that one. I like this forest too. This forest looks very real, but this mountain is cool. Island and another mountain. Not bad. Not bad. Nothing like special, but I mean, you always use more basics, right? When it comes to deck building, you can never have enough basics. That's my opinion. I know a lot of people would prefer to have way more duels and other specialty lands, but me, I like to have more basics. In case somebody decides to play one of those stupid cards that really messes with people who have things that are not basic. This one needs some flipping around. Okay. We got Charge. All your creatures get +1/+1 until end of turn for 1 white. Not bad. Mulch. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library. Put all the lands into your hand and the rest in your graveyard. Decent. Has Vigilante. 4 and a white for a 4/4 giant soldier. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control with power 2 or less. Huh. It's good for token decks, I guess. Ooh, White Mane Lion. Flash, 2/2. 1 and a white. When it enters the battlefield, return a creature you control to its owner's hand. Interesting if you want to do ETB stuff. Charcoal Diamond. I've never pulled one of these before, so now I have one that taps for black. That's kind of cool. Storm Sculptor, 3 and a blue, 3/2. Can't be blocked. When it enters the battlefield, return a creature you control to its owner's hand. Yeah. Ooh, we're talking about building. We have a Walls deck that we're working on, and we just went over all the creatures in our Walls deck. We do not own this. And this is going right into that deck for sure, because beautiful artwork, first off. Amazing artwork. Has a puppy on it, Kaiba. And then flavor text. We are farther west than any could have imagined possible, but I still wish to press on. Unfortunately, huge walls of ice block further travel. We can't believe they are natural. It's a 0/7 for 2 and a blue. I'm definitely putting that into the deck. Dragon Hatchling, 1 and a blue, or red, sorry, for 0/1 with flying, and you can pay 1 red to give it +1/+0 until end of turn, a bunch of times. Mirkwood Spider, solid spider all around, 1/1 with Death Touch, and when it attacks, target legendary you control gains Death Touch until end of turn. Not gonna knock that. And the Torment of Golem, 3 and a black. Target opponent reveals their hand, you choose a non-land card from it, they have to discard it, and then you mass orcs too. Yeah. I mean, the spider is definitely my favorite. Or the spider, the diamond, and the wall are definitely my favorites in this pack. But I mean, that pack had a pretty solid spread of useful stuff all around, I think. And now the reveal, what did we get as our hidden pack? Ooh, 4 cards with a guaranteed rare and a mix of 3 common or uncommon cards. No mention of foils there, so we might not have any foils in this pack, but that's okay. Maybe we'll get something really cool for the rare. I'm not sure which order they'll be in. I don't want to necessarily spoil the rare right away, so. Okay, that one's not a rare, so we'll go in this order. Hardened Escort, 2 and a white for a 2/4 when it attacks, another creature that is... Okay, whenever this thing attacks, another target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains indestructible until end of turn. Not bad. Negate, always a good one, and I never pulled that artwork version before, so I like that. That is a rare, so I'm going to just kind of switch that around. Oh, no, I was wrong. That's the rare, apparently. Skycloud Expanse. Ooh, interesting. Pay 1 and you get 2. Not my favorite kind of land, to be honest, but I do like the artwork on this one. So what was this then? Ah, we don't need more copies of that, to be perfectly honest. I have quite a few copies of that. But I can always add it to other decks that have a whole bunch of other creatures in them. Like, I could add that into my Elves deck, for example, and it would get pretty beefy in there, too. Okay. So we got an uncommon, a rare, and 2 commons in that pack. Not bad. I think the best card of the day, though, for me was definitely that Glacial Wall. And I think that it might actually have made this whole bundle worth it for me because I really like that wall. It's very cute. And it's definitely going in my walls deck, and so there'll be one less slot for sorceries and other stuff, but that's okay. In the meantime, in between time, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Super Deck Sunday. Kaiba has grown weary of this episode and of this Saturday that we're actually on, and would like to go home now, I believe. So, without further ado, much love to you all from Kaiba the Pug and myself to you. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And thanks for watching. Love you. Bye.